Hi there, Z here, and welcome to my new review of the Long Dark's brand spanking new episode 3 of Wintermute. I know it's not technically brand new because it's been out for a couple months here, but you guys gotta give me a break. I am an adult with a house, okay? That means summer's coming up. I need to start working a little bit harder to get everything in tip-top shape. I have a whole bunch of laundry to do, and I may or may not have been prepping for our inevitable demise to a certain communist Chinese disease or virus that may or may not be spreading around the world. But that just takes a lot of time. This is just what adults need to do when they become adults, okay? So it just takes a little bit more time for me to get around. But don't worry about that last one. I'm personally not worried about it because what would come to South Dakota? Like, no one comes to South Dakota, even diseases. I mean, true, human trafficking's pretty high here, and so I guess we attract those scumbags. But besides that, I mean, who else would really come here? And I also just took another measure, and I got myself some tests, and I'm just waiting on them right now. And I feel really positive about this. There's something about the way that the doctor just props you up on that table and just grabs it. Oh, hold on a second, guys. I think this might be it. This might be the test result. Okay. Yellow. This is him. Okay, I was waiting for your call. What do you got for me? Really? Okay. So, like, how long do I have to, like, wait? Like, how long do I have to, like... Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. No, you're just the messenger, right? I appreciate your time and your patience, okay? Thank you. Well, it's confirmed. Not only did I make it to South Dakota, I'm one of the first. Man, I don't know how this happened. What's the odds? Maybe I should buy a lotto ticket. Okay, let's just get on with this. You guys are gonna know one way or another. The internet always finds out, so I'm gonna tell you personally. According to the doctor, I have AIDS. So that happened. I don't know how it happened, but hey, we're not getting any healthier here. How about we continue on with the review, right?
A locked case. Well, that is interesting.
So, to those of you who don't remember the previous episode, we were left with this eco-terrorist preaching to us about how the world would be if it was based on John Lennon's Imagine.
In my world, see, there are no locks.
Before sucker punching us and leaving our fate to be determined. Boy, this is sounding exciting, right? Well, I hope you have your gender-curious mind clicked on because we have a sex change. That's right. Instead of worrying about the fate of our boy Will, we changed the perspective to Astrid. You remember her, right? The woman who guilt-tripped us into flying our shitty plane into a blizzard and delivering us into the waiting arms of a murderous Aurora Borealis? Well, now we get to see what happened to her after the crash, which was pretty much wandering around for a bit and being attacked by wolves, then to be abducted by an old creepy woman who killed her husband. What? I wasn't supposed to tell you that. I don't know if I mentioned this before, guys, but I'm pretty bad at storytelling. But come on! After Astrid talks about where her husband is, this reaction...
Husband?
It seems like more than one adult lives here. I assumed, husband.
Assumptions can be dangerous. You're a doctor, you should know that.
I didn't mean to...
You should just mind your own business.
Tells me that she's either really angry and offended as a lesbian or that bitch is hiding a dead body. That's all I'm saying. And during a cutscene that was so long and consisted of really nothing besides two women talking for about 15 minutes straight, which, might I add, no way of skipping this, I got so bored and was just moving my mouse all around because in my head it was kind of funny that this woman, by the name of Molly, was trying to tell her story to Astrid, who fucking couldn't concentrate because she has a bad bout of ADHD. And after being upset with Molly for asking the husband question, you can finally start moving around the house house and looking at things, but it's not long before you're wrapped up into another cutscene where Molly, in the span of 3 minutes, calls you to tell you that she's been cornered in the barn by a bunch of wolves. So after going to the basement, looting as much as you can, finding a revolver, and oh my god, it's a dead body, would have never seen that coming, you get to leave the house and you finally get some action. A thick blizzard filled with wolves that you need to scare away with the sound of the revolver while you follow a rope to a location where Molly is apparently in trouble, but, plot twist, she ain't there no more and calls you to tell you that, well, she isn't there anymore. Don't ask me where she went, where there's a phone that you could call from, because the only place that's even close to the barn with a working phone is the house that you directly came from and you didn't see her, but suspend your disbelief. It's a video game, I get it. And from there, you find a notice of a community center that might have some survivors and an idea of what's happening and where you are. So after the classic long dark gameplay, by the way, this point is still a breath of fresh air because the last time I played this game was really the last time I reviewed an episode. And I say this every time, but god, this atmosphere is great. It's still top notch. Sure, the characters look like snowmen when you're looking at them, and the art design is really only okay, but the survival gameplay aspect, as well as the environment all around you, is still literally the best thing I've seen in any other survival game out there. But unfortunately, that is the only praise I have to give this episode, because this episode was probably the worst in my opinion. Let me explain. As soon as you get to the community center, you are greeted by a pudgy priest named Father Thomas, who tells you that most of the people who are sick in this building were from a plane crash that occurred in the mountains. So, being the main protagonist and a doctor to boot, you see what's wrong with everyone and try to heal them as much as you can, but this one motherfucker is diabetic and needs his insulin. And instead of leaving him to die, because this is pretty much an apocalyptic scenario where nature itself is trying to kill humanity, you decide to go to the crash site and see if you can recover the insulin from his suitcase and grab all of the IDs of the dead bastards who weren't lucky enough to make it out of there so the family members can have some closure. Okay, not that bad. Pretty easy, right? A nice simple mission where you go from one location to the other, stopping every so often to warm up or eat or drink and try to dodge all the wolves and bears that you could find. But fuck you, says the game. We're introducing timber wolves. They are bigger, faster, travel in groups, and randomly come to attack you whenever you're kind of progressing too quickly into the quests. And the only way to get rid of them is to kill one or scare them off with multiple gunshots or throwing flares at them. Hey, there we go. I like a challenge. This is fantastic. You take what's good from the older games and you introduce something good to this. You introduce something else that's going to help us through. I'll tell you what, not only do I need to worry about my statuses, now I have to worry about these fucking wolves that come over all the time. I like it. Everything is going great. It's getting better and it's progressing into something fantastic. And then we get to the fucking plane. And here's where things get tedious, because now gathering the IDs isn't a side quest or something that you do out of the kindness of your heart, but part of the main quest, which means it's necessary to gather absolutely every single one of them, and you'll spend 30 minutes trying to find that one body that's hiding from you, and to top the entire thing off, you find a survivor who can't walk, so now you have to carry them the entire way back to the community center, moving slower than a snail fuck while you're using your water and bandages and wood to keep them alive while battling off the elements yourself and defending both of you from the wolves. And if that isn't annoying enough, I have to hear my character and the victim's voice repeat the same shit every single time.
Don't close your eyes. Not yet. I got you. We're gonna make it. We're making good time. Not much farther now. Just stay awake. We're getting closer. Don't close your eyes. Not yet.
Lights in the sky.
Hang on. I have you. Stay with me. I won't let you go. Don't give up. I won't leave you. We can make it.
Falling. Just falling.
And the only solace I really had was when Astrid put down these broken, frostbitten plane crash survivors, she would say something motivational, then slam them down like they owed her money.
I got you. Don't worry. I've got you. Don't worry. I'm right here. Gently now.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
But besides those chuckles that really got old after the 12th time I put them down, it was really lazy gameplay. It really is. And I know some people are going to hear this and say, so wait a minute, you walk around really slow throughout this entire game and you try to stay alive from the harsh element for hours on end? What's the difference between the regular gameplay? Because the previous episodes and the game overall wasn't a fucking escort mission. You know what? No, it's actually, these aren't escort missions. Because in games like Resident Evil 4, at least you could tell Ashley to get into the fucking trash like she was. This is like babysitting missions. Like you can't do anything until you put them down, tend to their needs before moving on. It's awful. It's awful and tedious and mind-numbing. And hey, after dragging around this useless piece of shit all the way back to the center, you place them down and start to inform all the other survivors that their loved ones, they just didn't make it. In the most absolutely comical way possible, with how disingenuous she sounds.
He didn't survive. I'm sorry. I found her. She didn't make it. I didn't make it through the crash. I'm sorry. I found her. I'm sorry. I found her. He didn't survive. I'm sorry. I found her.
Damn, she really must be a doctor with the amount of care in her voice and how much she repeats herself. But after finally finishing the mission, you are told that they need help stocking up for the blizzard with a bunch of essential materials and stuff, which is fine. It's something that's been done in the previous episodes and that's been a challenge in the actual game, so that's understandable. But you also need to find all the other survivors that you weren't able to find the IDs for and babysit them back to the center. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll play your little game. I'll do whatever you say, okay? But I'm not looking for them on my own. I'm going online and finding their exact locations because I can't be fucked to do this on my own. I've already spent 5 hours on this episode, and 3.5 of them have been cutscenes and dragging around half-dead bodies. So, let's go. Let's finish this. Let's do it. And after spending another 3 hours carrying said half-dead bodies and filling the pantry full of supplies while listening to my podcast, because honestly, most of this part is just me holding W and course-correcting myself every so often. I finally get done with all of this and get yet another call from Ollie telling me that there's a radio in the tower halfway across the map and that I can try to use it. Finally, I'm getting somewhere. Only problem is, the blizzard that Thomas told us about is now upon us, and after sleeping and repairing clothes for 2 days straight because this weather wasn't changing, I kind of realized the game wants me to go out into the storm, and thank God it did, because for the first time in hours, the game was fun again. The howling wind, the extreme cold, and with little to no place to make a fire, you're pretty much shit out of luck. And to top everything off, the glowing eyes of the Timberwolves hunting you the entire way. This part was amazing. Absolutely terrifying. It's a shame that I had to play 6 hours of shit before I got here, but hey, as long as it ends strong, I'm gonna be a happy man. Anyway, After you get to the radio tower, obviously the radio doesn't work because nothing works in this world. So you go to sleep, and just like episode 2, the Aurora Borealis comes out and starts kicking everything on with a bunch of electricity, which allows Astrid to try to call out from the radio, and instead overhears Will talking over the same radio as seen from the previous episode, kind of asking about everything that's going on. So, after gathering her courage and making last-minute repairs, she decides to leave through the coal mine located, why not, all the way across the map, when...
Electricity. Must be reacting to the lights in the sky. What is it, Molly?
We have a lot in common, you and I.
How's that?
Both left our men behind. Both like to be alone. Both hiding from our pasts.
I don't know what you mean.
Yes, you do. Yeah. They're all gonna pay now, Astrid.
Who are?
All of them. We've been in the background, in the shadows, invisible, overlooked for too long. Not anymore. Feels good to be on this side of the hunt.
Molly calls and tells Astrid she's tired of being pushed around by the man, the literal man, and decides to be an Eileen Wuornos and kill every single man that she could find in this snowy apocalypse. And instead of arguing with a woman who just admitted that she's planning on being a serial murderer, Astrid just tells her to have fun with it and heads out. And after several wolf attacks and a few deaths, we finally get to the coal mine and, again, when actually exploring interesting and creepy places, this game is great. And this part is no exception. The entire time you're working your way through this maze of coal mines, things are rumbling all around you, the cave collapses at some point, there's electrified water that you have to find your way around or else you get burned by it, a broken elevator shaft that you have to replace fuses on, and once you kind of do everything, you're finally able to proceed. I mean, honestly, this episode has more peaks and troughs than Walt Disney World does, but unfortunately, we have to come to base command at some point because as soon as you fix the elevator, we come up with a cutscene where there's a bunch of dead killer whales and a tipped-over ship, and the entire thing leads out with an incredibly boring and pompous speech about how Mother Earth is fighting against us, and my heart dips a little bit as I start thinking, as I did before, that this entire game is going to be all about climate change. And then boom! Credits! Obviously, I have some issues with this episode, and even the director of it said that some people aren't going to like it. But honestly, who would like it? I literally spent hours carrying survivors back, and for what? NPCs that had the charisma of a turtle fucking a shoe, and voice acting that, really wasn't bad, but wasn't good enough to mention until now that I'm kind of wrapping everything up. And maybe I don't remember the previous episodes well enough, but the repeating dialogue in this game is really off-putting. When you are hurt, or getting cold, or lighting a fire, or getting hungry, you say the same 2 or 3 lines ad nauseum, and it's not a huge thing by any means. But maybe just don't have it as prevalent, you know? I understand I'm getting cold. I understand I'm getting hungry. I'm trying to find a place to stand, okay? I'm trying to find a place to sit down and enjoy my meal. Don't fucking bring up the same thing that you said 80 times before, please! Anyways, this was definitely one of the worst episodes, but it was not absolute trash. The Timberwolves were a nice addition, the revolver was nice to have, the environment was as good as it's ever been, and the blizzard and coal shaft parts were great. Just don't put these babysitting missions in, like, ever, again. And that's pro advice from someone who has never made a game in his entire life. You're welcome. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and cheers.
I'm here.